Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. We're GABNet, and we've got you covered live 5 nights a week. First Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, it's The Exchange.
Harlan Ellison totally insisted that there were no sounds in space on Babylon 5. Watching it for 20 minutes will clearly show that there are sounds in space. So what the fuck are you pulling this out of, Mr. Harlan Ellison? That pretty much cemented the idea of who Harlan was in my brain.
Tuesday through Friday at 10 Eastern, join Alex Bennett on the Ramble.
You don't think Bill Clinton's a pervert?
No, I don't.
Go ahead.
No, I really don't. I think I think he's a man who let his dick talk for him. You know, I think he's a guy who was pursued by a young woman and should have said no, but he didn't. Now, the only woman I ever talked to that fucked Bill Clinton was Jennifer Flowers. She kept saying during the interview, you know, I really did have sex with Bill Clinton. And I asked her the question, I said, that's not what's important to me. What's important to me was he a gentleman? And she said, he was terrific. She said, every time we'd have sex, the next day he would call and see if I was okay. He never dodged my calls. If I wanted to call him, he was an absolute gentleman.
Tuesday through Friday at midnight, The Intersection.
We now know that Trump doesn't hate all Democrats. He at least likes the Democrats who he perceives to be as crooked as he is.
Ah, wait a minute, ring that bell!
I mean, between Menendez and Blagojevich, you know, who he pardoned.
Mm-hmm. If you like sports, we've got that too, with The Arena, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
There's a lot of long-ass games come knockout round because they have to finish. So you have to play up to 120 minutes plus a penalty shootout. Kick.
Catch up on all the shows with our weekend flashback. All shows have the Citizen Panel, an exclusive concept of GABNet. It's new, it's daring, it's talk like you've never heard it before. GABNet needs you. Yes, GABNet needs you to call our live programs and be a part of the Citizen Panels. It's the most innovative talk format yet, because it's not just one caller, it's a group of callers interacting with the hosts at the same time. Here's how you do it. It's simple. First, download Skype at Skype.com. To install it, answer 4 simple questions. First name, last name, email address, and your choice of ID. Then launch Skype, go to Add Contacts, type in GABNet Live, and ask to be made a contact. Then you're ready to be on the Citizen Panel. If you're too lazy, well, you can always call on the phone at 347-352-0079. That's 347-352-0079. For all the information and a call button for Skype, log on to GABNet.net. At the bottom of the page, you'll find a video on how to call us and how to use GABNet. It couldn't be easier. It couldn't be more fun and exciting. We're new. We're different. But we need you to call. So for crying out loud, call or we'll kill this dog. Don't worry, Fluffy. They won't let you die. I'm not kidding. Call or Fluffy gets it. Oopsie. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Wait a minute, hold on. Gotta start it all over again. Hold on. Yeah, I haven't got anything right here. Okay, all right.
We're gonna stop recording, and then we're gonna start recording again, and then we're gonna do it right. Okay? Okay.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
I screwed it all up. I'm gonna try it again here, folks, and we're gonna try and do it the right way this time. Okay? Here we go. All right? Hold on. Just hold on to your horses, everybody. Here we go.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
That's it. I can't get this right. Dun, 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 dun. Hey everybody, this is Alex Bennett and this is the Ramble. I'm sorry, we had to start the whole thing over again so we got a good recording of the video. I'm losing it. I am just losing it. But let's make a call here. Okay, everybody, let's do what we do every now and then. Rather than just start talking to somebody, we call them because they always start with a funny quip of one sort or another. Here we go. Here we go. It's ringing. It's ringing.
All right, I'm ready. I'm high on life, and I'm wired on gas station coffee. Let's slay this puppy. U-Ban. Yummy.
Yeah. What? Are you drinking U-Ban?
I'm drinking. What am I drinking? It's special blend from Dunkin' Donuts. It's very good.
Well, Dunkin' Donuts coffee is supposed to be like the best.
Oh, it's real good. You get like a nice little bag for $6 and 5 scoops, and you got a nice big fat cup, and you don't blink for 3 hours. It's wonderful.
Really? It's that good, huh?
Oh, yeah. Gone are the days of the mirror and the razor blade. You just need some good old Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
I must be getting really old because when I wake up, I'm tired, right? I don't wake up refreshed. I always wake up tired. Okay.
Yep.
And then I discovered this thing called Starbucks Plus. It's double the caffeine.
Oh, look out. Super no blinking.
Yeah,
get X-ray vision with that shit. You can see into the future.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that it doesn't seem to work. It doesn't seem to be as good as some other coffees that I'm drinking. So, I prefer of all my coffees, I prefer Pete's.
Pete's is good. I like Pete's. Yes, I have no argument there.
Pete's is very good.
But for a good cheap buzz, Dunkin' Donuts will do the trick. You buy a bag of it, you take it home, and it's off to Never Land, baby.
Now, do you buy it pre-ground or do you grind it yourself?
Oh, no. I don't have the patience or the know-how to grind the beans. Last time I tried doing that, I accidentally started a fire. Last time I tried that, I accidentally started a war with Malta. I'm not good with electronic things like that.
I'll tell you what the problem is here at my house. I can't get the bean version of any coffee. We do have a grinder, okay? But my wife uses it to grind marijuana.
That's better. Good for her.
Yeah,
you got a smart woman there.
So if I try to grind the beans in there, they come out tasting like pot. Because it's been years of using this grinder.
Hey, my kind of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope if my wife's listening, I'm not revealing anything, and I hope the police aren't at our door to arrest us because in New York State, marijuana is still illegal except for medicinal purposes. And you have to have cancer before you can have.
That blows. You got to bring back David Peel, man. He'll help make it legal.
Bad news is you got cancer, but the good news is you can now smoke pot. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thinking it over,
Governor fucking Cuomo. Why is it that in 30 states now across the country it's legal for recreational? I think for
38 states. That's a lot. That's the majority. The whole country should go.
I don't think they're all for I don't think they're all for recreational purposes. I don't think so. But they certainly are for use medicinally, and here in New York we have it medicinally. But in order to get it, you've got to prove so much. You know, you should just say, "Hey, I've got a bad cough," and I can get it. I just don't understand it. Why have they always seemed that they had to, like, say bad, horrible things about a really okay drug? You know?
Yeah, I know. It's insane. In California, if you want to get it medically, you say, "I stubbed my toe." "Oh, okay, here you go." Like, "Oh man, I got like an oblong filtrum." "Oh, I no problem. Here you go." New York, you gotta like show them the tumor. You know. We
should at this point though say to people that if you smoke pot, according to conventional wisdom, you will jump out of buildings thinking you can fly. You will kill your child because you think it's an invading burglar. Yeah, the things like that. Again. You know. Well, years ago, I got together with a bunch of people. We found this film that had long been forgotten, and it was called Reefer Madness.
Oh, of course, we all know that one.
And so I was working with a group called Normal at the time.
Sure.
And we decided to have midnight showings of Reefer Madness at a theater in St. Mark's Place. And that's where it first became very popular again, that film. And the film, to us, was just an absolute riot because what it did is it bespoke all the things that were not true about marijuana.
Yeah. Jumping out of buildings and murders and running people over in your car. "I'm red hot, Jack. Let's go."
Yeah.
It's all reefer's fault.
And you know, I mean, there's always been this myth about marijuana, and there's only one reason why marijuana is illegal. Why is that, Alex?
That bastard Harry Anslinger.
There, you got it right. There was this guy, folks, named Harry.
Son of a bitch, that whore.
Named Harry J. Anslinger, and this son of a bitch, this was like a federal employee who wanted a better job. And so he came up with this myth about marijuana, basically because it was a drug that was only really prominent in black neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And he started, if you look at the newspapers, you only started hearing about marijuana, I think, in about 1933 or 34, when he started planting articles in newspapers across the country about the ravages of this drug. And, of course, one of the outcomes of this was this film, Reefer Madness. And he got the drug illegalized. Well, he didn't get it illegalized. Marijuana's never been illegal. Did you know that?
Up till 1937.
Well, no, it wasn't illegal. Was it 1937?
I think that's when they passed bastard Harry Anslinger. I don't call him Harry Anslinger. I call him that bastard Harry Anslinger.
Yeah, well, anyway.
They had the law passed. Because it also, you know, it was mostly used by Mexicans and blacks. Hey, that's a way to put them in jail.
Well,
hey, good idea. So.
Wait a minute, but this was genius. It wasn't a law making marijuana illegal. There never was a law making marijuana illegal. What they did was it was called the Marijuana Stamp Tax Act. And what happened was, if you wanted to have marijuana, you had to pay a stamp. You had to get a stamp and pay the tax on it. Okay? So let's say you had an ounce of marijuana. Do you know how much the tax was?
I don't know.
$30,000.
Holy crap. If you can't pay the tax, you're going away, so you better pay it up.
So really, when they busted people for marijuana, it was a tax violation. That's how he got it passed.
Wow. Oh, my God. What a slimy bastard fucking son of a bitch, and that's the good parts of him.
And then he died, I think, in the 50s, and on his deathbed, somebody asked him if he really thought that pot was dangerous, and he went, "No, I just needed a job."
What a cunt. Actually, I think he died in the 75 when many people were doing
75,
it. Illegal,
okay. 75. Okay, but you know what he also did? Also in the 50s, he became the head of the United Nations Task Force on Marijuana.
Oh, God.
I mean, he kept insisting.
What a useless piece of shit he was.
He never believed that it was dangerous. He just knew it gave him a job.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh, God, what a horrible horror.
And so therefore thousands of lives were ruined by being
destroyed.
incarcerated.
Yeah, sure. People were locked up forever or 50 years or whatever for having, oh, man, what a dick. He's so far, I hope he's so far down in hell he's looking up Hitler's asshole.
Do you remember the most famous guy ever arrested for marijuana possession? Back
then, old Sleepy Eyes, Robert Mitchum.
That's right. Robert Mitchum got busted for marijuana and went to jail for I think it was 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe 30 days or 90 days or 60 days, something like that. And he went to the work farm.
And to his death, I loved Robert Mitchum for that.
Yeah, sure. I was just like that, smoking reefer in the 40s. Oh, that's cool. Probably went to 52nd Street and seen Bird play his horn and all that good stuff.
Yeah, yep. But, I mean, who was it said... I think maybe it was Bill Hicks in his act that said, if you don't like marijuana, just remember all the great music you've heard and that you've ever loved was created by people smoking marijuana.
That's right. He's right. Can't argue with the truth.
So it was it was a good drug. It is a good drug. I don't do it that much anymore. Do you still do it, right?
Oh, I enjoy it immensely. Sure, certainly. I don't perform on it, and I don't. But once in a while I have it for breakfast with my cornflakes, and it makes the day agree with me.
Yeah, my wife loves it. She, see, when I was a kid, my parents would come home from work and they would pour themselves a drink.
Yep.
Okay, that was their way of relaxing. All right,
yeah.
They weren't alcoholics or anything like that. It was a tradition. You come home from work, you want to unwind from work, you have a drink. All right.
Yep, that's how they did it. World War II way.
Now, my wife does it for the same exact reason. She comes home from work. She's worked hard. She's tired. She wants to relax. Boom, a little pot. I never do. I get contact highs. That's all. I don't.
That's nice.
I don't really smoke.
Save money.
I don't smoke it that much anymore. I'm just not crazy about it any longer.
Oh, I enjoy it. It just it just puts a little sugar on the day. So,
maybe
I don't depend on it, but it's there and it's cheap and what the hell, and it's legal here. So there you go.
Maybe I matured out of it. That could be.
You might have. I heard Paul McCartney recently stopped, and he was like an everyday guy. So who knows?
Do you know who was an everyday guy? Who's to me the most famous everyday guy for pot? And he never even made a big deal out of the fact that he didn't do it, but he did it. Literally every single day of his adult life. Louis Armstrong.
Of course, yeah. I love it. It's the finest medicine that money can buy. Why do you think I'm smiling all the time, motherfucker? I'm always high. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean...
Me and Jack Teagarden.
Who knows how many other people did it. I would imagine in his time, Bing Crosby did pot.
Oh, sure. Back in the, some guys, did it. And I think Frank Sinatra tried it in the 30s, didn't like it, and preferred his old Jack Daniels or whatever he was drinking. Some guys preferred alcohol.
You know something? If he hadn't done all that booze and kept smoking pot, he probably wouldn't have gotten the Alzheimer's and stuff,
Yeah, that's right. And he wouldn't have had as many guys whacked either.
I don't think he had anybody whacked, okay?
He would have kept Peter Lawford in the Rat Pack. Kennedy, Schmenedy, hey, it ain't your fault, baby. Come on, hand me that bond, Jack. Frank wants to get mellow.
Yeah. I read 2 books about Frank Sinatra. All I have, you're not going to believe this, but all I ever listen to on my iPhone is Sinatra. When I'm walking down the street, it's always Sinatra. Nothing but Sinatra. Occasionally some other stuff, Occasionally there's some Tony Bennett. There's some Tony Bennett with Lady Gaga, who I happen to think is the real deal.
There you go.
But basically it's Sinatra. And so I also read 2 whole books on Sinatra, and I don't do a lot of reading, okay? Jesus, what a miserable guy.
I wasn't a happy guy.
The only time he was happy, the only time he was just absolutely perfect as a human being when he was in the studio. Then he was happy. He loved being with an orchestra. He loved singing. He loved doing that, and it was his life. But other than that, the guy was a miserable human being.
Well, maybe if they had the right medication back then, he could have taken it. He should have smoked pot instead, right?
By the way, I'm a miserable human being too, but not like that. Jesus Christ. I mean,
well, you get anything you want, you snap your fingers and they do it, and then something goes wrong, he gets mad.
Yeah. But there was some terrible stuff about his life, The saddest part of the book is when he decides, he gets behind Kennedy. In fact, he did a song. The Kennedy song, which I play here sometimes on the show, which is K-E-N-N-E-D-Y. Jack's the nation's favorite guy. All of you mugs better back Jack, or I'll give you a smack. Yeah, well, I mean, wonderful Sammy Can and Sammy Kent wrote it together. A little joke there. Yeah. Arrangement by Flivver and Zwieback. Wonderful. I don't do none of that Elvis acid rock pop crap, just good clean orchestration. He paid for the session. He got Nelson Riddle's orchestra. They did High Hopes, but it was a song about Kennedy. And so he was the big Kennedy follower, and his mother was a big Democrat, and abortionist.
Hat-pin Dolly.
No, she did.
Hat-pin Dolly for nothing.
She did abortions. She worked as a midwife and did abortions.
Yeah, dead baby Dolly. Look out.
Yeah, but anyway, so he was a big Democrat, and to show you how petty he was, what happened was Kennedy was supposed to come and stay at his place in Palm Springs.
Yeah, that's right.
And so Kennedy, in order to make it ready for the president, made a special building for him to stay in.
Wing for him, the Jack Wing.
A place to house the Secret Service, all of that. Had it all built because he was coming out to stay with him in Palm Springs. Right? Joseph Kennedy says, you got to stop hanging out with Sinatra. That's not good. He's mob, and it just doesn't look good. Well, Joseph P. Kennedy was mob, too.
What a mess. What a mess he makes up.
So he cancels after Sinatra has built this whole compound for Kennedy. It threw him.
I believe I'll be staying at Bing Crosby's place because he's not all mobbed up like Frank, and he can get the same pussy I could get over there.
Well, he did do something like stay with Crosby. He stayed with somebody else. Was it Crosby?
Yeah, it was Bing Crosby, who was a Republican, but he said, stay with me. You can watch me beat up my boys with a baseball.
Oh, bad, baby. Anyway, so at that point, Sinatra was so incensed and so depressed and so he was just supposedly inconsolable, all right, that he became a Republican.
Pissed him off enough to change parties. Oh, what a child.
Lifelong Democrat, fought for Democratic causes, was a real left-winger. As soon as this happened,
that's right, in the 40s and 50s, sure, he was like very left-wing, left-leaning.
He just went, "Fuck you! I'm no longer a Democrat."
And Nixon called him up, said, "Welcome to the dark side, Francis."
Yeah. And but Sinatra was. I often wonder, how can you be? Now I'm depressed all the time, but I have no talent. But in the case of Sinatra,
then you can make it big in show business. You can be a stand-up comedy star.
Here's a guy who has maybe possessed the greatest virtuosity, the greatest talent of any single human being in that century. All right? I mean, you listen to his stuff, and especially in his prime in the 50s and early 60s, it was scary, It was that good. And so you go, what the hell is this all about? I don't understand it. Why is he so miserable when he's got this talent? And yet he was miserable. And something, the other thing about him that really bothered me was that he had this incredible voice, right? They called him the Voice. He had this incredible voice and this incredible virtuosity at singing, which is all dependent upon whether the vocal system works. And he smoked and drank, and he didn't take care of it. And so by the time we get to 1986, I have a recording of him singing a concert in Madrid. He is so off key, and there is no voice left. And you go, why is he doing this? But you listen to a guy like Tony Bennett. He's 92 years old, and while he doesn't have the same facility he had when he was 60, he still can belt out a song.
Well, I never spend my time being pissed off at the world like Francis.
Yeah.
Tony Bennett's a mellow cat.
Yeah. But, I mean, Sinatra lost it around when he retired, that thing about, Blue Eyes is back. When Blue Eyes came back, he wasn't the same Blue Eyes that left. He didn't have that same facility, and it started to go downhill from there. And he was married by then. He was married to Barbara Marx, who just kept sending him out on the road no matter how bad he was, no matter what condition he was in, because she wanted the money.
Yep. I want to add another wing to the house, Frank. Go back to the road.
So
sing some more.
The number of concerts he did in a given year were incredible, and by the time I got to see him, which was in the 80s, I guess, just before, a little bit before his death, when Jilly died. The night Jilly died was the night I saw him.
92, May of 92.
Really, May of 92.
Yep.
Okay, so good. Thank you very much for reminding me. At the Circle Star Theater, and his opening act was a comedian. What was his name?
Tom Dreesen.
Tom Dreesen. So I had Tom Dreesen on my radio show, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come down and see the Sinatra show at the Circle Star? I'll give you some tickets, and come on, and I'll introduce you to Frank." And I went, wow, big deal. Well, when I got there, he said, "Frank doesn't want to see anybody. Jilly just died."
Oh, that's boy. What can you do? His best pal, his leg breaker, his mug, his mook.
Yeah.
His main mook.
Hey, these were the guys that were nice to him when he was having a bad time.
Yeah,
these were the guys that kept him alive. So why shouldn't he be friends with them? I would be. Yep. Anyway, Frank. What was the point I was trying to make here? Where was I going with this?
You were going to meet Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
See him with Tom Dreesen,
and so at least I got to see the show, and I was like in the fourth row at the Circle Star, and I'm looking up at Frank, right? And Frank keeps staring at me, and I wonder why. Every time he comes around to that side of the stage, because it was a circular stage, why he would keep staring at me. And then I suddenly realized just below his eye line is a teleprompter. Everything he was singing was on a teleprompter. There was a time when Sinatra didn't need a teleprompter. He knew every song he was going to do.
The words.
And if he didn't know the words, he didn't do the song.
Yep.
He just keeps staring at the teleprompters, and I'm thinking, how closely is he following those teleprompters? And I can read the ones on the other side of the stage, right? And then he goes, "She gets too hungry for dinner at 8, Jack." And I look at the monitor, and they've got the word Jack written there.
You got to know where to put the Jack, Frank. We'll remind you.
Yeah. And then his son was leading the orchestra.
Frank Jr.
He was conducting it from the luggage compartment of a car, but he was, that's a joke.
Hey, wait a minute,
because he got kidnapped. Actually, Frank,
that's a kidnapped joke. Now cut
Frank
that out.
Jr. wasn't a bad singer. Sounded a lot like Dad.
He didn't have the balls the father had, but he was both the kids had really good voices.
But anyway, he had made him the orchestra leader, and now Frank is singing, and he's doing one of his torch songs, and he brings out a cigarette and he starts smoking it, right? And then when he's through, he throws it down on the ground, and he puts it out with his foot, or so he thinks. But he didn't know he didn't put it out with his foot. And about a half a song later, during the break from the next song, Frank Jr. is saying, "Dad, the rug's on fire." and the rug was on fire. There was smoke billowing up from.
Oh, look out! Frank's smoking up the joint.
This was what I got to see as Frank Sinatra at the very end of his life. You know,
an off night. What can you do?
An off night. They were all off nights, from what I understand. You know, they were terrible. But the one chance I could have seen him was when my father was playing Cal Neva with Frank. My father played the violin in the orchestra, and he was hired to be in the orchestra. And
cool.
and Frank was playing there with the Rat Pack. There was Dean, you know, Sammy, and all of them. And I saw them walking through the through the casino and going into a special little room on the side where they all kind of partied. And Sammy always looked like he was kind of alone, like he wasn't the one that was really felt included there. But what a, you know, I remember that is a very important moment in my life of seeing Frank Sinatra, but I never saw him perform there. And to see him perform at that point there would have been a memory that would lasted me the rest of my life.
Sure.
But there was
to see old Frank, though.
There was nobody better than Frank. And so you see what happens when I talk to Stephen Pearl? I waste 25 minutes talking about Frank Sinatra.
Frank was all senile that he couldn't remember. That's why the Trampy is a label. Hey, wait a minute, Jack.
Hey, listen, we've run out of time, my friend.
Already? My God, it seems like we've been talking for 4 seconds. My God, where does the time go? My God.
Where does the time go when you're having absolutely no fun at all? Ladies and gentlemen.
It's a regular Fizzy's party, I tell you.
The lovely and attractive Stephen Pearl. Thanks, for Stephen.
Thank you very much, Alex. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll do it again soon.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey, everybody. How are ya? Here I am. Lucky I could even hit the right switch to get us on. I screwed up so badly on the opening tonight that I said to myself, you know, maybe it's time to just cash it all in. You know, this is something I do by rote every single evening, and for some reason I've just been thrown off completely. But to my credit, I guess I've changed some of the equipment in the studio, and so I feel a little bit off, okay? But anyway, I screwed up on the whole opening, and then I started it all over again, and I started and stopped the stream, and it was terrible. It was terrible. I humbly apologize. Well, for those of you who want the all clear, there's no Phil tonight. He also warned us there would be no Phil on Friday, so therefore I won't feel horrible. But man, I just, you know, here are things that I do here every night over and over and over again, and I should be able to get them correct. And then all of a sudden, one night, it's just like everything blanks out. And then I tried to stop the show and tried to start it again, and I pushed the wrong buttons. And I'm really embarrassed. I really am. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting the feel maybe I'm losing it, you know? And part of that could be that my life is just so dull right now. If I had something, if I could get up in the morning and go do something, maybe I had to work at a soup kitchen or something like that, something that gives me some kind of structure in my life. But now when they told me at Sirius that they were letting me go, I said, well, I'm going to start dying. Because, you know, when you don't have that structure, you kind of start losing it. And right now, stuff that I used to be able to do, God, like that, you know, and bam, 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 back and forth, I'm having a hard time with. And maybe it's just that I'm tired or I'm taking the wrong medicines or whatever. But it's bothering me. Anyways, anybody going to call? Because if you don't, I'm going home. Wait a minute, I am home. Jeez. So anyway, that was Stephen Pearl. We were talking about Sinatra. A guy who, you know, unfortunately, there are guys who who don't quit, who don't need to quit. A guy like Tony Bennett never needed to quit, really. You know, he was fine. He, to this day, he's 92. He's still, I mean, yes, he has diminished capabilities, okay? But he works around them. And he still has the chops, as we call it. You know, he may not have the equipment quite as good as it used to be, but he has the chops. And that was something Sinatra lost completely because I think he had no respect for it. Who knows? Hey, the first guy up tonight is Rob Alfano, ladies and gentlemen, and I couldn't be happier. Hello, Rob, and here comes Jeff Stein. Oh, here comes Charlie Wallace. Let's see here. And who else? Jeff Jeff came online, so he should be trying to call in any second now. Hello to both of you. How are you this evening?
Good.
Hey,
I saw Sinatra the same year you did.
Really?
92. I think it was October of 92 at Radio City Music Hall.
Did you find it as sad as I did?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at this iconic individual out there, and he had moments of I mean, he couldn't sing anymore the way he did, but it was still that Sinatra personality up there. When he does the whole, when he sings, it's 2:45. There's no one in the place except you, and he lights the cigarette. And
yeah, that's when the stage caught fire. By the way, that I told him the story.
I mean, I enjoyed the show because I would have killed to see Sinatra during his.
Oh God! But I looked up at him on stage, and occasionally he would turn a certain way, and the light would hit him just right, and all of a sudden we went back 30 years. You had that Sinatra feel, and then all of a sudden the light kind of changed, and he was croaking along, reading the fucking teleprompter and saying the word Jack whenever it was on the teleprompter.
I saw him. His opening act was what's the redheaded singer? Sheila McLean or McClare?
Sheila McCrae.
Sheila McCrae?
Sheila McCrae, I think. Yeah,
really?
Maybe that's right. Yeah, she was his opening act.
Really? The opening act I saw was Tom Dreesen, as I said, the comedian.
She's the one that said she was possessed or whatever.
Oh, Shirley MacLaine.
Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, Shirley MacLaine.
She actually was performing that night?
Yeah, I didn't know she sang that night.
Wow. That was a treat in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was on my first honeymoon. We were in the Pocono Mountains, and I had gotten tickets to see Sinatra. And so we drove into the city and went to Radio City and got to see him.
Wow. Wow.
And then he didn't die much past that. I mean, that was October of 92.
Yeah.
So that was right near the end there.
Yeah. I guess he died in 92, didn't he? 93? I can't remember. I think it was 92. Maybe it was 96. That could have been. Look it up. Because what did?
Wow, he died in 98.
Oh, really? Okay.
May 14th, 98.
All right. What day did Bubbles say I saw him? I saw him in 19. He said 92.
92, but 92. Like May, was it? Did he say?
Yeah. So I saw, he still had a few years left in him. But boy, it was sad because I want, to this day I wish I had seen Sinatra in his heyday, and I was so close to him. Because I was at Cal Neva and my father was in the next room with the orchestra, but I couldn't go in because all the tickets were sold out, and the band didn't get tickets.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I guess I didn't care as much about Sinatra then as I do now. Now I look back at him and I listen to his stuff and I go, this is just amazing shit, Yeah. And people, if you're listening to me, folks, and you don't know what I'm talking about, this is a time where a singer was a virtuoso, and in the case of Frank Sinatra, man, he did great stuff. I'm sorry. He was amazing. just amazing. So
his last concert was in February 25th, 1995.
Wow. Okay, so you saw him in when? 92 as well?
October 14, 15, around then, 92.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So that was yeah. All right. So you saw him probably on the same, we could say tour, but I think he just was constantly working because Barbara made him. Yeah. Made him do it. But it really was quite a deal.
And he didn't know he was retiring. According to this article, it says there was no grand announcement, no farewell tour. He stepped on stage unknowingly for the last time. It's an article that was written about the last concert that he did in Vanity Fair.
Who told him he was retiring, though? That's the That's the question.
That's kind of sad.
I need to go back and read the rest of this article because it looks really good. I'm assuming that maybe as just a health thing is why he stopped.
Yeah,
because he didn't. And I have to read this article. It's a Vanity Fair article as to maybe why it was his last concert tour.
Yeah,
or last concert.
But what do you mean he didn't know it was his last concert? He just didn't.
Yeah, they stopped. Again, it says here, Frank stepped out on a stage in front of his adoring fans for what would unknowingly be the last time.
Oh, wow.
On February 25th, 1995.
Son of a bitch. And then he died in 98. Yeah. I can't remember what he died. I'm trying to remember what he died of. I think he died. No, that was Benny. Benny died of pancreatic cancer, but I don't know what he died of. Does it say there?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I thought he had a heart attack or something.
Let's see.
I mean, he did have.
I'm not positive.
That's Doug. It could have been. It could have been a heart attack. I mean, he had. I think Alzheimer's is what he had.
Yeah, because he was suffering from memory, obviously.
Yeah.
Death.
I mean,
I was like probably. Sorry.
What'd you say, Doug?
I was going to say, like, you're talking about this. I appreciate that, the tragic subject you brought up there.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember, like, Jerry Lewis when he did. I used to watch him when I was a kid doing the muscular dystrophy things, and then like later on he started like dropping the F word constantly, and then finally it was just sort of like, you're no longer part of this, something that you started.
What do you mean dropping the F word? I don't remember him dropping the F word.
Oh yeah, he said like, isn't your son a fag or something like that? He would do that often.
That's not the F word. That's the other F word.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, anyway. So
he died. Yeah, he died of a heart attack.
But that's the F word he was dropping.
Leave it to Doug to get us off of Frank Sinatra and onto Jerry Lewis.
He died of a heart attack in the hospital.
Yeah.
He had been ill for a while. The last few years of his life, frequently hospitalized with heart and breathing problems, high blood pressure, pneumonia, and bladder cancer. But he was also further diagnosed as having dementia.
Yeah. So how old was he? Did it says
he was only 82?
Oh Jesus, that was a lot. That was a lot of fucking drinking.
Yeah, I mean, the smoking and the drinking.
The hard living.
Yeah. Hello, Josh Wheeler. How are you this evening?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Yeah. You're not that familiar with Frank Sinatra's life, are you?
Well, I wouldn't say not that familiar. I mean, I like Frank Sinatra, but not all that familiar. The baseball team I like, the Reds, used to have a guy that played for them and actually plays for the Mets now. But he used to use all Sinatra music for his walk-up song.
He did as a Yankee too. Yep.
Yeah. Todd Frazier. Yeah, he used to use all his music for as a walk-up. So I used to go to the ballpark all the time. You'd hear it once every 2-3 innings or whatever. A lot of people like that.
Yeah. Well, I I, for some reason, in the last many years, got this almost incredible appreciation and fascination with Sinatra. And as I said, on my iPhone, that's pretty much all I listen to. You know, I have a lot of other stuff on there, and sometimes I'll listen to it as it goes by, but then I'll click it till I get to a Sinatra song. You know, because there's something about Sinatra that just, I mean, was so perfect in his prime. It's just a shame to listen to like the Madrid concert in '86, in which what's the song? April in Paris he does, and he sings it, the beginning to it, and it is such a clam. It is so bad. It is so off key. And I go, oh, fuck, I can't listen to this. And I've kind of almost erased it from my iPhone. I don't want to hear that concert. It's that bad.
It's like watching Rolling Stones now.
And that was 12 years before
the Rolling
his final
Stones didn't even
concert.
come close to the virtuosity of Frank Sinatra.
I don't know. I saw the Stones one time in concert back in the '80s, and they completely suck. And listen, we're all human. We have off nights and all that, but it was like the worst concert. It was like I could probably sold my damn tickets for $200 a piece, and I didn't, and I wish I did.
Okay, well, again, Doug runs us off the road.
Anyway,
if you keep doing that, Doug, if you keep doing that, Doug, if you keep doing that, and if you don't listen to other people talking and continue going along with the conversation, I'm going to have to say good night to you. Okay?
Please don't do that.
Well, I may have to.
I'll shut up.
Ta-da!
Best thing you said.
What's old is new again.
Yeah. So it never changes, does it? You know. You know what?
You know, I gotta figure out if I could get you. I gotta go upstairs and see if I could get you a 5-year anniversary thing because it's February.
Yeah. I got a note from Vernon Nunn, and he said, "Where's the new promo from Rob Alfano saying celebrating 5 years?"
Yeah, 'cause it's 5 years now.
Yeah, well, it's not yet exactly, is it?
Oh, good. And I don't feel bad when
I don't think it's 5 years till April, is it?
Oh, it was February, I thought.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. No, wait a minute.
Why do I have it in my head that it was February?
When did we start doing? I can't remember when we started doing the what do you call it? Well, wait a minute.
Ramble?
Wait a minute. I can probably go back.
I thought it
and
was
look
2014. I thought it was 5 years ago when you started doing that.
But boy, we're talking about what month? And
the thing is, I'm trying to remember when we started doing this. Hold on a second. Let me look at my vault here and see what the oldest show is that I have.
Oh, you have
here.
all the shows still.
Yeah, let me see here. I may have all the shows because that goes back to here we go.
You were doing, I'll tell you what, I remember the very first year, GABNet was really in its infancy. You went on the air and you actually broadcast the State of the Union address.
Really? Well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. The earliest one that I have here under AB, but I may be able to go back further, is 3/3/14. So if I go down here, I know there are some that are like RAB. Hold on a second. That's 7/14. RAB 1408. No. Oh, I see. That's that. Okay, why is that there? I don't care about that. All right. GAP, Great American Podcast. So that goes back to 7/1/13. So that's when we were still doing the TV show.
Right.
So I would say that if we had to put a date on it, I would go back to the first one I have here, which is 3/3/14. And it goes 3/3/14.
So
wait a minute. And it goes something like this. So that goes back to 7/1/13. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I got to.
Ah, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Really.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Wait a minute. I got to stop something first.
You're getting.
I'm getting something here. Hold on a second.
3:14.
So it goes something like this. What am I doing here? I don't.
It's our first
don't do
nighttime
that.
program.
Now, why is that?
Already extremely tired.
For
I
some
don't know
reason,
why.
I'm not.
I got up by normal time.
Hold on a
Tried to
second.
get
Mute
to bed
site.
late.
There we go. No, that's not it either. There's something I'm getting audio from, and I don't. You see, I'm losing it.
So what I heard you say there with that show was that was your first nighttime show, 3/3/14. So you were doing the daytime show with Albert in February.
Yeah.
Well, we were doing. Oh, I see. Okay, is that what you're saying? Okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, you were doing the day. I'm 99% sure it was February because again I remember tuning in.
Wait a minute.
I remember tuning in those first nights. You were doing the days, but you were also coming on at various times, and you were doing the night. You came on and you did a show impromptu after the and I called in on that show after the State of the Union address, which is
Yeah.
So I remember that.
Wait a minute. I can't figure out where the other sound is coming from here. This is what's driving me nuts. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Is that it? No, they're all down. I have no idea where the sound is coming from.
One of those things when you rewire the studio.
No, it's one of these. If I kill my complete all my stuff here, I'd probably be okay. But I have no idea. See? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. See, there's me talking, trying to figure it out. I don't know where that sound is coming from. That's really strange. It's not there, and it's not there, and it's not there, and it's not there. I have no idea where it's coming from. That's very strange. Well, wait a minute. Let me kill my Chrome, and we'll see what happens here. Okay, now do I get the sound? No. See, so it was somewhere in the
browser.
Somewhere in the browser, and let's just see if it comes back up again now that I start the browser again. I don't know where that was, but I wanted you to hear that first show, and that I have here, and it's a. Let me see here. We go into it a little bit.
We're not planning on.
I remember that.
Well, shut up, Doug. This out. There are a lot of issues here, and quite frankly, can I just say I think we got. I think I can say this without fear of it coming back to bite me in the ass. I think we were screwed. All right, but let this be a lesson to the rest of you. Don't sublet. I didn't sublet. I rented. I thought. Okay, that was still going on back then. Okay.
Wow. 5 years.
I don't know that it wasn't earlier than 3/14. I'm beginning to believe that it was. I started. Those are all the ABs, which are the latest files.
Do you have your daytime show? And Albert's daytime show before the Public House? Didn't he have a? Was it called Public House during the day, or did it change to Public House at night?
Well, wait a minute. Here's the Great American Broadcast.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if this is the TV thing or not, but wait a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen of the United States of America.
Memories.
Ladies and gentlemen of the United States of America.
Station announcement. It's Station USA.
Let me see here.
For Red, White, and Blue Network. We are proud.
And that's the easy place to find us. Well, we just did it as a convenience to kind of keep, because Albert kept nagging me about, we got to have audio going out because we do radio, we don't do TV. Okay, so that was the TV show. And then I said, here's a Skype address. give me a call. I'll accept you, and we'll talk. We'll do. That was the TV show. So I don't know. I guess. What can we say? How can we?
Well, I seem to remember, though, when you were doing the TV show, I thought a couple times before you started the regular nighttime deal, you used to come in and do some shows on maybe Friday nights and Saturday nights.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do these pop-up broadcasts.
Yeah, just like special one-offs on Friday night. And then maybe if it went really good and, you were feeling pretty good, you'd say, hey, let's do this tomorrow. And we even did a few on Saturday nights, which were, pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, they were.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Well, you also did some afternoon shows, too, because I remember calling in when I was traveling.
10 a.m.?
Well, no, what we did was we did the show at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And then because that's when it went on when we did the TV thing with the TV. Then when that ended somewhere in January, maybe early February, where I was doing it every 3 weeks. We couldn't do it without Albert. Okay, let's be honest. And so then
Marjorie was helping you.
But at some point, and I don't know, it may have been before we ended the TV thing, I started doing a daily show at 10 o'clock. And then Albert, I think, did 11 o'clock in the morning. And then all of a sudden, Albert went,
yeah, he did some afternoon.
Will you shut up, Doug, and let me just talk? Jesus. Just fucking shut up, Doug. Jeez almighty. I'm going to get rid of him. Hell with it. I don't want you, Doug. I'm sorry. You flunked again. Anyway, because all he is, he gets drunk and then he blabbers. It's like a drunk pulling on the steering wheel of your car while you're trying to drive. And I'm not putting up with that. I removed from this group. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Okay. So here's how I remember it. So at some point, then he did 11 o'clock. Then he decided he didn't want to do it in the morning. So he was going to do it at 8 o'clock at night. Or maybe 9 o'clock. I can't remember. And so I decided, well, I can't just be here and he's there. Like it's a mouthful of teeth, missing a whole bunch of teeth in the middle. So I then went to the evening as well. And went on after him. And that's how the whole evening thing started. Now, I don't know when all of that happened. Somewhere in it, we didn't start calling it GABNet. We called it the Great American Broadcast Network. Yeah. And then it is Albert who said, hey, GABNet. And that's how it became GABNet. But now my question, just make the promo. I'll start. Just voice it, and I'll start running it. Because, but that's how we started. Let me see here. Nobody's writing me, telling me when it started, so I don't know. Was I too harsh on Doug, or did you hear that he was getting a little difficult to control?
Your fuse with Doug is short.
It's very short. Because he has no sense of, what am I looking for? No sense of being part of the group. Flow, yeah. And it makes it difficult for me. And God knows I'm not feeling that great about things right now. Because tonight I really fucked up the opening to the show. And it just made me feel bad. But it's all the new equipment I put in and the new way things are and so on. I just got my new board. And I'm playing with it in the other room, and I don't want to put it in till this weekend. I think I could probably put it in 5 minutes, and it would all work, okay? But I don't want to take the chance. But the sound coming out of it is beautiful. My voice sounds much better. It's more controllable. It's got effects, which I don't need. I don't think you want to hear my voice in echo through a whole show, but. It's really good. So it's a Mackie, and it seems to look like it's going to do exactly what I need it to do. I never had a board that actually puts itself into the machine through a USB port.
Yeah, that's what mine does.
And what it does is that because it's a Mac, it doesn't give you a volume control for the input. The input's just the input. Am I right?
Because it's ones and zeros. You don't have to adjust.
And so you adjust it in whatever you're doing it with, like your, the volume on your, what do you call it? Your, the volume on your various things that you use it with, like your audio and so on. But it looks pretty good, sounds good, records well. And I think I just figured out where all the outputs on that one are going to go. And this board is getting old. It's starting to get really creaky, this mixer that I've got here. So I'm happy. So anyway, but I just feel, anybody get the feeling I'm losing it?
I mean, you tax yourself. You constantly innovate and change and update, and because of that, you're doing a lot. You're putting out television and you're putting out audio, and you're doing it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. I mean, I don't know how you do it. I wouldn't. I would take me forever to learn all that and then keep track of it. So no,
but
I think you're hard on yourself.
Well, but the things that I do every day, like that opening, okay, where I know I go to this and then I go to that and I go to this and I go to that and I fuck the whole thing up tonight, just completely. And I'm tired. I'm a little loopy. I took a Xanax last night, which I think maybe threw me off today, And I, it just bothers me when that happens because I'm a perfectionist. When it comes to doing a show, I like doing a show. And right now I'm using a weird kind of, I'm using a USB port into the thing with an audio jack in it that gets the volume into the new machine. Without the new board, it comes right out of the board. This is an all analog board, and it doesn't come out the other way. And I'm. It kind of is difficult because I can't overmodulate. It's very strange. Anyway, I don't get it. It's all new to me, and maybe I'm too old for new stuff now. Maybe I'm just an analog guy at heart.
It's easier to deal with the analog. I agree.
Well,
because you know it.
Yeah. I mean I have to admit that the digital sounds clearer. The new board sounds clearer. Yes, Jeff. Oh, turn on your yeah. See, he's an old guy too. I have to remind him to turn on his audio.
Yeah, that's just that. I don't want to just other things, but I think it. A lot of the stuff that you used to do is quite intuitive for you because you've done it that way for years and years and years. And even if you talk about for the last 5 years,
mm-hmm.
a lot of it is continuous.
Yeah.
But in the last, I don't know, in the last 6 months, you've been kind of changing things, and I'll call it electronically.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's software, hardware, the combination, whatever. And I think a lot of that stuff is not as intuitive as the other stuff was, and it's complex. And I don't think you have a protocol written down that you're following.
Well, you know what my wife says? She says, well, write down everything you're going to do. And I go, well, that's fine for you at the office. But when you know what I'm talking about, Rob, when you're doing this kind of thing, you can't write down and then be sure that you turn on pot 2.
It's a feeling.
Then, you've got to just know the process.
Yeah, you don't have time to read through the instructions. It's a feeling. You flow. The control room becomes an extension of your hands, and it's like playing an instrument.
Okay, but tell me if maybe this is just me getting old, but I don't get the new Skype. I just don't get it. It's not intuitive enough.
Again, because we're used to it, they changed the paradigm. They changed it completely, and you have to hunt and peck because it doesn't follow the old convention. They did that Microsoft did that with Microsoft Office when they got to, what was it, the version after 2003, when they went with that round button thing, and they got rid of the ribbon on top, and worked for years with the ribbon. File, where to go for things. And then they went and they changed everything, and it's not intuitive.
But it should be. You know, the day that we had trouble here and I had to go use the new one, I couldn't get it to make a citizen panel. There was no way. You know, and I couldn't figure out how to do it without hanging up on you and then calling you back or something like that. And I'm going, is there something wrong with me? Is there some reason I can't figure out how to do this?
When was the last time you got in a new vehicle? And I mean a brand new vehicle. I have a 2019 car in my driveway.
Yeah.
It's very different from even a 2014 car, a 2015 car.
I haven't driven a car in about 3-4 years.
So you know how when you get in a car, you know, every time you get a rental, I always call it, you have to bond with the car, right? You get in the car and you got to, you know, before it becomes second nature like your car, you need to bond with it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same kind of thing. A car needs to be an extension of you, and you need to know where everything is. And because you're doing 60 miles an hour, you don't want to be searching for shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so it's the same thing.
But I don't know that. I mean, am I wrong, or is Skype just not too terribly intuitive? I mean, the old one was.
Again, it depends on if you're new to Skype and you don't know the old Skype. Then that Skype might be intuitive to you.
But will somebody write me an email, alex@gabnet.net, and tell me how I make a citizens panel on the new Skype? I can't figure it out. I mean, without it, here, I'll show you how simple it is, folks. If you call me, let's say you're Rob Alfano, and you call me. Comes up, Rob Alfano is calling, it says add to group. You click on add to group, and he's part of the group. It's that simple. I cannot find anything in the new Skype that makes it that simple. Even Damien, who is a little clearer-headed than I am and younger than I am, still hasn't figured out how to make a citizen panel other than calling people back.
Well, maybe it's not possible.
It may not be possible, in which case, why the new Skype? Why not let us have the old Skype if we want it? Why can't we run both of them? You know, I can take a Windows Office program from 2008 and it will still run on my Windows machine.
Until it doesn't. Once they stop supporting it, you're lucky if it runs, right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Little wacky things start happening because they don't patch it with Windows patches. You know, it's a financial decision that they make.
Well, no, it's not a financial decision. It's a Nazi.
Yeah,
it's a Nazi-like decision. It's like telling you've got to go with this new thing or else.
Well, you could say it. You could look at it that way, but the bottom line is you have to have developers, you have to have staff, you've got to have testers. So if you're going to upgrade your version of the OS, whether it's the Mac OS, whether it's the Windows OS, and you've got a version of Skype, and whomever made the decision to redesign it, for whatever their reasons are, now they need double the staff to go back every time they make a change, because especially with Windows, they come out with patches, Patch Tuesday, you know, every Tuesday there are new patches.
Yeah.
So they've got to go back in and they've got to recertify it and they've got to recheck it. Every company does it. I have customers who have some of our old hardware. I got a call from a customer recently. He's been running this old SAN that we have that just still works. It works for years. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, he upgraded a version of VMware, which is the virtualization platform that he's using.
Yeah.
And little did he realize it upgraded, but every time he reboots a host, it loses the storage. He called VMware, and VMware said, well, that's because we no longer support that hardware. We have to make a decision where it's not financially feasible for us to keep having to recertify every piece of hardware down the line. That's why.
Well, then fuck you. Why are you in business? You know, you're in business.
They're in business to innovate. They're in business to innovate.
Well, you know, I mean, I like, for instance, if you have a Mac and it's older than 8 years, you can pretty well rely on the fact that Apple is no longer going to let you use the new operating system.
My Apple Watch is there now. I can't update the Apple Watch anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have the Apple Watch 2. Yeah. I couldn't put
my old
OS 5 on it now. I couldn't do it.
My old Mac Pro, I couldn't put Mojave on. Now this new machine, I can put the new Mojave on.
How old is that old one?
2011.
So 8 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got another 3 or 4 years on this before they won't let me upgrade it anymore.
Yeah. Do they let you go to Mojave? Okay.
Yeah, I got this in 2015.
Yeah. The 2015s will work. This is a 2013 Mac Pro that I bought just recently. That doesn't mean it was made in 2013. If you bought a new Mac Pro today, it would be the 2013 model. Okay. But I hate. But folks, are we boring you with this tech talk? Okay, well, to hell with it.
You hear what's going on in my home state of Virginia?
You know something? I'm listening to that. It's almost a Twilight Zone. It's almost a Twilight Zone episode. First, you got the governor, who was found when 25 years ago when he was
1984
when he was leaving dental school or something, or medical school. He in his yearbook he took a picture of himself in blackface. Okay, so now they want him to resign.
Standing next to a KKK person, and they don't know if first he said he apologized.
Yeah.
Then he said, I don't remember it. Neither one of the people is me.
But he did say that he did wear blackface on some other occasion.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
He learned to do the moonwalk.
All right. So, okay. So how many years ago? 25 years ago.
30.
They're asking the guy to resign. First of all, let's ask Charles Wallace, who is our official Negro on the panel. Charles, if a guy wore blackface 25 years ago and now while he's been in office, he's done a lot of civil rights legislation.
Yeah.
How are you going to feel about him?
I'd say, what's he like now would be my question. I don't care what he's like 30 years ago.
That's exactly the point. So he's being asked to leave as governor. Okay.
Only the Democrats do that.
Yeah. So next, the Democrats love to eat their own. Witness Kirsten Gillibrand and what's his name? Al Franken. So now we go to step 2. Well, if he gets thrown out as governor, the lieutenant governor takes over, and now a woman has accused the lieutenant governor of what? Rape? Something like that?
Sexual assault.
A sexual assault or unwanted advances or something like that.
He forced a blowjob on her. He pushed her head down.
It was a forced blowjob? Okay.
Yeah, a forced blowjob.
Yeah. So that means that he can't be the governor if they want to like impeach him. So it would then go to, in succession, the Attorney General, right?
Yes.
And now they found a picture of the Attorney General in blackface. Come on.
He admitted to it.
Yeah, he admitted to it. I mean, what a comedy of fucking errors this has turned into.
And the next person in line is the Speaker, who is a Republican. So there isn't a shot in hell that all 3 of them are going to survive this. They're just not going to leave. And the process of getting them out is very difficult here in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And so they're just, I was watching CNN tonight, and they were talking about, they had Wes, I can't think of his last name on, and he's a black guy, and he's friendly with all 3 of those guys. And he knows them. He's from Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. And he said, this is an opportunity for us to get what we want. In other words, you're going to you've apologized. Okay, apologies, like I tell people when I call them all the time, apologies are empty most of the time. Oh, we're so sorry for your problem. That's bullshit. You don't give a rat's ass, but you just say it, right? Yeah. Well, now make them put in legislation that can benefit them. Right? Let them really atone by getting some of the legislation through the Virginia House, and change some of the rules that are right now stacked against them, like some of the crime bills and some of that. So that's what he's hoping for, because none of them are going to leave, but get them to atone.
Wow.
So that's what's going on in Virginia.
Yeah. So at this rate, you're going to be the new governor.
Could be. It might get there.
Yeah. No blackface, right, in your past? Okay.
In 1979, I'm going to admit to this on GABNet. In 1979, I went to a Halloween costume party.
Yeah.
Remember, it was the Iranian crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody used to tell me, hey, I look like an Iranian. I had a dark beard and lots of thick, dark hair.
Yeah.
And so my roommate used to say, you're an Iranian. So I went as an Iranian, and I put on dark, like olive-colored makeup, and I wore a turban and a suit. I went like an Iranian diplomat.
Oh, okay.
That was my Halloween costume that year.
Well,
so I've been in. I didn't do blackface. I did brown face. I don't know. I can't be the governor either.
Blackface. Here's the thing. I think that 25 years ago, if somebody decided to dress up as Michael Jackson and they were white, nobody would think twice of it. They would go, "Oh yeah, that's funny. That's funny." They don't think of it as blackface or anything else. Hey, I'm going as Michael Jackson. I got one glove on, I got a sparkly jacket, and I'm wearing. I put some shinola on my face. Granted, blackface has never been tasteful, but it became terribly tasteless all of a sudden. And the question is, shouldn't there be shouldn't we say, hey, okay, you did that then, that was then, this is now, as long as you didn't do it last year, as long as you didn't do it in the last 10 years. Maybe I'm being too forgiving about this and too white about this, but I just think that there's a certain time at which it was okay to do it. It wasn't okay. From a social standpoint, I would not think it was a good thing to do, and I would never have done it. But there was a time where it was permitted. Let me put it that way.
Didn't Sam Malone from Cheers? What's his name?
Yes, Ted Danson.
Ted Danson and his at the time wife, or he went.
Whoopi Goldberg was his girlfriend at the time,
right? And he went in blackface to some event
with Whoopi.
With Whoopi, he went in blackface.
Yes,
remember that?
Yes, nobody's ever brought that up again, have they?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even think. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not. I don't. I guess somewhere inside of me there must be some. I'm not a racial person. I dated black women. I don't have a. Anyhow, I'm sure somewhere deep in me there's something, but I never thought of it as being like. Even when I dressed up as the Iranian, I did it to be funny. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that until I started thinking. I said, "Wow, I wonder if that would be considered racial if I did that." You wouldn't do that today, but back then, we had a good time. It was a party. We had a blast. I walked around shaking hands like a diplomat. We had a good time. It wasn't done for racial reasons, and I'm sure the governor, when he was Michael Jackson, didn't do it for racial reasons.
Right. So here I've got I'm trying to find a picture of Danson's racist humor. Paul's crowd. No, let me see here the images. There
just
we go.
Wouldn't do it today though, because we're in a different world.
Here we go. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get this over to the next machine here. Let me see here. Boom. Let me see here. Ted Danson. Did it come up here? I can't find it here. Ted Danson. Ted Danson. Let me see here if I can somehow. I've got to figure out a news image. Okay, I'll go there. I'll go plus. I'll go image. I'll go image. Okay. Then let me browse here, and I go to the desktop and Danson. Here we go. Okay. Okay, open. This takes me a long time when I'm trying to, do it. But if you can watch us online, because you guys aren't going to be able to see this, ladies and gentlemen, this was Ted. I don't know what year was this. Oh God, I don't know the year. Let me see.
2011? No, it's not
2011. Well, here's the picture, folks. But there's Ted Danson in blackface, and
1993.
In 1993, this is Ted Danson in blackface doing the minstrel style blackface, in which you do the white around it.
Right.
Are you offended by that, Charles?
Yeah, I'm kind of offended by that.
And everybody loves Ted Danson. Nobody's going to say Ted Danson can't work anymore because he did this in 1993.
Oh, socially we've evolved, and so you wouldn't do it today. But that's it. So should the governor be ostracized because of what he did even earlier than that? 10 years earlier than that, almost.
Yeah. Let me see here. Let me come back out of that. Okay. But anyway.
And it was.
Yeah.
If you look at his page and that photo, it doesn't look like him in blackface because the smiles are very different.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't look like it's him.
Oh, you're talking about the governor.
Yes.
You're talking about the governor.
So I don't even think he did that blackface. That wasn't him in that picture.
Yeah. But I mean, all I'm asking is what's the cutoff date on bad taste? I mean, if you did it today, okay, you've got a problem. But if you did it 10 years ago, you have to. Those were the mores of the time. And if nobody said, you should know better. I don't think I ever tried blackface ever. Okay, and I'm in show business. At some point, I should have run into doing blackface, and I never did. How about you, Josh? What do you think about all this? You've been quiet.
Well, I just sometimes wonder, where you'll have to have some ultra-liberal call and explain it to me, because apparently I don't get it, where it has to stop either, because I guess I've never really understood what would have been wrong with painting yourself that way. I mean, I agree that I wouldn't do it because I don't care, but if you really wanted to dress up like something and you're white and the person that you want to imitate is black, why is it offensive to do it if you like the person and you're just trying to imitate him? For example, one time, maybe it didn't make national news, maybe it was around here, I don't know, but so maybe it was a year ago or 2 years ago when that Black Panther movie was really big.
Yeah.
There was a white kid around, I think this might have been where I live, who's 6 or 7, and he really liked the Black Panther character. I don't watch those movies, so I don't know, but he's just really into it. He wanted to go as that for Halloween.
Yeah.
And his mom and dad, they painted blackface on him, and everybody freaked out. And it's the black people, if they're the ones complaining about it, first of all, they probably aren't, like Charlie said. It's probably white ultra-liberals who are the ones complaining about this crap. But if black people are complaining about it, it's well, you're missing the point that it's a young white kid who looks up to an older black person. Just let it be. By starting all this confrontation over it, there was no race issue. You are the ones who made it the race issue. He liked the older black person. He looked up to him. And then suddenly you brought this conversation into it. And I'm sure the kid's 7, and he's he looked at a black person and thought, I like to be like him. And then you started this conversation, and now you got to have a race relations conversation with a 7-year-old. It's couldn't you just let it go?
The thing is, to begin with, we don't take apologies very well anymore. In the old days, at least he apologized, okay? He said he was sorry, and he recanted, and you went, okay, good for you for apologizing. What good does apologizing do you anymore? Why should anybody apologize?
Right, and I'm in
you know what we've lost here? What was the intent when that guy put on his black face, let's say, or when Ted Danson did it? What was the intent? Did he hate black people and he wanted to make fun of them? Well, that would be wrong. But did he like black people and he wanted to honor Michael Jackson, or like the little kid, he wanted to pretend like he was the king of Rwanda. What's wrong with that? You know,
Right.
there's not a hatred there. And
just like you said, when you remove the intention from the equation and simply make it about being black or being white, then you just make race relations worse. I mean, if a black person paints himself with white shoe polish, am I supposed to flip out?
How am I supposed to
I
feel?
don't fucking care.
The Wayans brothers a few years ago made a movie where they played white girls.
I think we have to be careful in a way because we're white guys and we're saying we don't care and it's not such a big deal. I think that's part of it. The other part of it is in Virginia here. This is while we're like almost not the South, we're still the South, and there's still a lot of prejudice in the South. And so when Southern men dress up in blackface, it might have a little different meaning, especially when there are people here like what just happened in Charlottesville, right?
Yeah.
So close by. Richmond and Charlottesville are maybe 45 minutes away from each other. So I think there's that.
But you see, what happened in Charlottesville can clearly be put at the feet of somebody hating somebody.
Absolutely.
Okay? You can't put this blackface that the governor did at the feet of racism. It wasn't a racist move on his part. It was maybe a stupid move on his part, and a non-thinking and non-caring thinking on his part, but it was certainly, in fact, this governor, I may be wrong about this, is known for having passed lots of civil rights legislation.
Absolutely, but you got to remember the picture that surfaced is a white man in blackface standing next to a guy in a KKK outfit.
Yeah,
and that's the part.
That's the thing. It's not the Michael Jackson thing.
Yeah,
it's the KKK thing.
But sometimes the problem too, I think, is it was so long ago because, and I'm going to be brutally honest about it here for a second, because especially since this was like in college, sometimes I think it depends how people grew up. Because I'm going to be honest. I grew up, and I'm from what people would consider, the North. I mean, I live in, central Ohio. And I'm just telling you, I grew up in a household or at friends' households where it was not uncommon. I mean, I'm not saying it was every day or whatever, but I'm just saying it was not uncommon. No one would bat an eye if my father or the other kid's father whose house you were at, or even their mother, used the word nigger. And this was in the 90s, okay? No, we don't go to Columbus. We're not moving to Columbus. I'm not living with those niggers, okay? Just bear with me.
Yeah.
And so you're 12, you're 13, you're 15, you're 16, and you find yourself thinking that or feeling that because you've never known anything else. Okay? And then all of a sudden you're 20, you're 22, and you don't live at home anymore, and you meet other people, and then you're like, I don't really think I believe that. I don't really think I ever believed it, but now you're like, you know what? I don't really think I believe that. And then time goes on, and you don't believe it, but you look back and you think, wow, if I ever ran for president, I can almost guarantee you someone would be able to say they heard me use that word at some point in my life. And in today's world, I would never be able to explain that away. But I can tell you for sure, 100%, that I can sit here on this panel and I would never think of Charles Wallace as a black man, as a white man. He's just Charles Wallace.
He's Charlie.
That's the God's honest truth.
But here's the thing. When I was a kid, my father said, do you know what the definition of a kike is? And I said, no, what's the definition of a kike? And he said, a Jewish gentleman who just left the room. And the same is true of that word too. And the point is, Lenny Bruce had a bit that he did. And he got up on stage, and I'm going to use the word, and he went to the audience, nigger, 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 and he said, now does it sound as bad as it did? I mean, it's just a word, and it's the way in which it's applied.
We empower the word.
We empower the word.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason why black people, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, although, we're not having you on here as a representative of the black race, The reason why blacks use it a lot, they go, well, they call each other that. Well, it's to disempower the word. You know, that they disempower it. Am I right, Charlie? Is that?
Well, that's what I'm told.
So you don't use the word.
That was the latest memo you got?
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time when I was about 8 years old, and I used that word for one of the neighborhood kids, and my dad heard me. He beat the tar out of me. I mean, this was no spanking. He had a big belt and whipped me good. And I've never used the word since.
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, and I first heard that word, my father said to me, that is a bad word, and you never say it because it hurts other people. That's what he told me. He said, you never use that word. So anytime I ever heard that word, hairs went up and down my neck. I mean, I had a revulsion to that word because my father, from almost the day I was born, inculcated me with the fact that that was not a word you used. Right. Okay? So now I'm living in Houston, Texas, which gives a whole new meaning to the word racism. I'm working the show, and I've told this story before, and my program director comes up, and he comes in, walks into the control room, and there's a record playing, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, you should go downstairs. There's the nicest little old nigger lady downstairs. And I never heard nice and whatever in that combination before. I'd always heard it as a hateful, spiteful term you use to describe a black person because you hated them. Okay? And here, he was saying it in a very benevolent way. He was just describing. And then one time somebody called my show and used the term, and I said, please don't use that term. And he said, well, you'll have to forgive me, but that's the only term I ever learned to describe a black person. And so I just use it to describe a black person. I don't mean anything by it. Would you agree with me, Charlie, that there are people who in the South use that term and they don't use it out of hatred? Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Texas for 40 years, yeah.
You heard that word used in a non offensive way, like not non-offensive, but a negative in their mind,
not angry, or not. It wasn't to put somebody down. No.
Yeah. I've never heard it quite used that way in the North.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the same thing. I have family members who use words like that. I grew up with words like that in my family, and I'm appalled when I hear them. When I was young, I didn't know any different. Just same exact thing that Josh is saying. You just
right.
It's the way. It's the way you were raised, and I still have family members now that I close family members, not immediate family, but aunts who still use the word, and they don't use it in a necessarily the same thing. They just use it as a label.
Yeah.
And it's just
Bree had his hand up. Bree?
Terrible.
Well, one of the things we were talking about in class this week is the old Disney movies and the representation of gender, ethnicity, and race. And if you look back at Disney films historically, they were pretty bad. And they've learned in more recent times. They still engage in some of these, but time and taste standards change. So the question is, should we no longer watch the old Disney films? Do we have to get rid of them? All. And I'll tell you another thing. If we go through every single leader in our country and we say we're looking for something that we can get them on so they have to move out, you'll have a situation like Virginia. Everybody has to go, and we selectively do this because Trump gets to stay there. But, anyway, for beauty, getting back to my original point, Beauty and the Beast can be interpreted as a tale of domestic abuse. And in the Twilight series, I was showing Edward the vampire sneaks in and watches Bella for months while she's sleeping and she doesn't know it. That's stalkerish behavior, So it's all polysemic, meaning it can have different meanings. And In media, we generally say there are three types. There's a dominant preferred meaning, there's a negotiated, and there's an oppositional. So usually any type of interpretation comes within those three realms. So what we're dealing with right now is that it's a confusing time, because you can find access to your other viewpoints very easily online, and so this supports you. Whereas historically, the dominant meanings and the preferred ones that were sent out by the companies or whoever had access the least, right, those were the ones that permeated, that were out there. But here on GABNet, we can have Citizens Panel and we can say what we think, and if we can gain support, then we're more likely to move forward with that instead of spiraling into silence. Meaning, if you're in a crowded room and most people have a certain opinion, you were talking about how if you went to someone else's house and they used that term, that people didn't sound it down. So that's part of that. And as we go forward, we learn all these different ways to communicate, and but do we get rid of all the Disney films because we're judging them by today's standards?
Well, I mean, I use as an example. I wrote an article for Hustler in my column. One of my columns was titled "Who Killed Uncle Remus," and it was about the fact that Song of the South, which was a really great movie by Disney, is not even distributed in this country. And the fact is that the film is a loving tribute to the South after the Civil War, and about whites and blacks getting together, about a little white kid whose parents are disaffected from him, and he seeks the aid and affection of this old black man named Uncle Remus. And the film there's nothing racist about it, except that they have these cartoon segments in which Uncle Remus is telling the story of Brer Rabbit, and how Brer Rabbit was so smart that to outwit the fox and the bear, Brer Bear and Brer Fox, he built a tar baby, a baby out of tar, and when they tried to grab the tar baby, they got stuck in it. And they think the tar baby is some kind of racist thing. And the fact is, if you've ever seen the movie, it's probably one of the nicer, more tender films that Disney made. And it went against his anti-Semitism because he hired a Jewish writer to write it. And the actor who played it was an actor on Amos and Andy. And his name was, what was his name now? I used to, I'm blanking out on everything. But this actor has been completely erased from history. And he got an honorary Academy Award for that picture. He is the second black person in the history of the Academy to get an Academy Award, even though it was an honorary one, because of his performance as Uncle Remus in Song of the South.
But Alex, is Thanksgiving racist?
Is it racist? In what respect?
It tells a story that children are told that the colonists came over and the Indians came and fed them and everything was great and we all got along. That's the story we tell everyone on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That's not the truth.
Right.
It may be partially true, but it's not the whole truth. It's not reality.
How it ended.
By the way, the name of the black actor, I just had to look it up. His name was James Baskett. And he did the voice. He also did the voice of Brer Rabbit in the film. And he got an honorary Academy Award that year for his performance. But his fine performance will never be seen in this country. You can see it in other countries. In other countries, they release it. And occasionally you'll see him singing Zippity Doo Dah, because it won the Academy Award for Best Song of the Year. And that they put on clips in like Disney compilations of like cartoons and stuff, and they'll show that clip. But the whole movie, you got to go online to go find it, because it's very hard. You can't get it in this country. And I think that there was something wrong with that, Yes, Jeff?
Well, just to put a little different spin on it, a friend of mine wrote a book for children about racism.
Mm-hmm.
And she wrote it with a Muslim child who helped her write the book.
Right.
And then she had, in writing the story, a simple little story, she had to select somebody who was angry about the Muslim girl. So how do you say that using a white person to do it and not make them the worst person in the world? So what they did is she created the dog to be the racist. Right? And I'll just show you guys. This is, I don't know how much you can see.
Yeah.
That's the
Soulful Sydney. What's the rest of it say there? Explores diversity. Huh.
Yeah.
Now I want to bring something up here because this goes.
Anyway, so the big thing that I just want to say is, it's not just black people who have these problems. There's a lot more Muslim people in the United States than
Jews have this problem.
Well, we used to have it for years, but
we're white, so we could assimilate. We could assimilate. Was what the assimilation was easier. You know, we could kind of pass for white, even though to a real racist, Jews are not passing for white. But I mean, hey, every society has some people they hate because somehow it's endemic in the human psyche that we have to have somebody to put on a lower level than us, you know, and it's terrible. But let me bring up one other thing because you see, here we are, we're discussing racism, and the other big racism story right now is Liam Neeson.
Oh, right.
Okay, now Liam Neeson was being interviewed by, I think it was The Guardian in London, if I'm not mistaken. And he told the story about when he was a young man, and he said, I don't tell this story with any great joy. And he told the story about this woman who had been raped, who he knew. And then he asked her, well, who was it? And she says, it was this guy, he was a tall guy and whatever. And he says, what color was he? And she said, black. And he said, after that, he said, for a week, I was going out on the street with a club in my hand, waiting for the first black. And then supposedly, he can't see it in the newspaper, but he did the quotation sign. I was looking for a black bastard to beat up. And then he goes on to say how, that was a horrible part of his life, and it's a horrible memory of his life. They're assailing him for it now, and he was telling the story as a point of education to people about how racism is bad, and it was bad in his case, and how he pushed through it. But had he not pushed through it, he might have wound up killing somebody.
Right, which I think would be two things. Almost the same thing as if some people started calling in and assailing me for saying what I said 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the same kind of point he was making. And then second of all, I work nights. I like to sit up at night and watch movies.
Mm-hmm.
So to all the liberals out there, you've already taken Kevin Spacey away. If you take away Liam Neeson, I have a specialized set of skills, and I will fucking find you, and I will fucking kill you. And that's really all I want to say.
I'll join you.
Are you ready for this? There are calls for Liam Neeson to be digitally removed from Men in Black after his racist comments.
Oh, bullshit.
This is true. This is true.
It's social media. It's social media. This wouldn't be a problem if we didn't have social media.
This is the upcoming Men in Black movie that he's in, and they want him taken digitally removed from it. I mean, and then they canceled him for doing a red carpet for his latest movie, and he, as I heard the remark, it was an object lesson he was trying to give. And now his life is in ruin because everybody got so super sensitive about it, and they only heard that he used the term black bastard. It's taken completely out of context, and because it was in print, and they do have a video of it, but they don't show the video, when he said black bastard, he did the quotes sign. Okay? It's just it's sad.
Well, in Virginia, that would be a kind way to put it. He could probably at least be their Secretary of State or something along those lines.
Well, you know, I mean, but we're so overly sensitive. You're right, Josh. I mean, you know, who'd you say they got? Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, so they already took Kevin Spacey away. I mean, okay, you can't have fucking Liam Neeson too. I mean,
I'll trade you Kevin Spacey for your Liam Neeson. In fact, you can keep Bill Cosby. Okay,
right?
It's all right with me. By the way, it turns out that Bill Cosby's doing very well in prison.
Is he?
That he's very popular. They love him in prison.
He does shows. Does he do shows?
Because all these guys in prison grew up with him on television. They love him. He's Uncle, you know, he's Bill Cosby from the Cosby Show. Hey.
A lot of the people that are in there are rapists too. So
yeah, they can discuss business.
Right.
Wow. You know, I mean, that I heard is that he's probably getting along better in prison than he would have if he was on the outside. That's what they were saying. And I understand from Bubbles that Louis C.K. is selling out every venue he plays at because of the controversy. I mean, he can't make movies, and a lot of his income has been stifled, but nevertheless, he sells out. He said he was at the San Jose Improv, I think, and sold out 3 shows. You couldn't get in. Yes, Bree.
Well, Alex, this is what I'm telling you about. This is the confusing state that we're in between interpersonal, mass communication, spiral of silence. There's all kinds of communication theories that we have that we've developed over many years, and they're all kind of being thrown for a loop because there are a certain number of people. Well, the same reason why Louis C.K. can sell out a club is the same reason why Trump is president. And why he can, because he has a base. There's a certain number of people. And the same reason why people like Bill Cosby in jail. There's a certain number of people for whom those other aspects are just not important. And they like the one that historically would have been the only thing they knew.
Well, I feel sorry for Louis C.K. Part of it is because I knew Louis, and I liked him. He was a cool guy. But what he did was, come on, he asked some women if he could pull his penis out. Nobody said no, so he pulled it out. You know, you could have left the room. You didn't have to stick around and watch Mr. Winky come out of a guy's pants, for crying out loud.
But I do think that Bree is right, though. Sometimes when there is just a certain number of people that like you, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's the same way with athletes. You know, I mean, if you're really good and people really like you, and you know you're Ben Roethlisberger and you're the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you've been accused of rape like 3 times, and there's really nothing there to prove it, but it's like the everyone else hates him, but the people who root for that particular team are like, yeah, we don't care about that.
Yeah, Kelly too.
Right, you know, it doesn't matter.
Well, R. Kelly, if you watch the documentary, the sick part of R. Kelly was all this was going on. Everybody knew it was going on. He even had a trial where he was found not guilty but it was for the porno film. It was for the videotape. It wasn't for having sex with a girl underage. But all this was going on, and his record company wasn't doing anything about it. Why? Because he was making them a fucking fortune. And they didn't want to screw the pooch. And the only reason why they've let him go now is because, this documentary came out, and he's not selling as well as he used to. Oh, that's really brave, RCA. Thanks a lot. Or Sony, or whoever is the company that distributes his stuff. You know, I mean, he was a creepy person then, and he's a creepy person now, but now because he's not selling as well as he used to, I think it's time to get rid of him. Yeah, we're not going to release your records anymore. You know. But all I'm saying is, what is the cutoff date? Can't we say that after a certain amount of years, you can't go back beyond that to try and get somebody on something?
Statute of limitations, yeah.
Well, it isn't even a question of statute of limitations. It's a question of You know,
I was speaking figuratively.
I mean, there are certain mores of a certain time, and how long do you live with those mores, and how long do you go along with them, and whatever they imply?
It's amazing that we have these. We're evolving as a society, and you've got the Kevin Spaceys of the world, and Liam Neeson who makes a statement, but yet we have the most egregious person in the White House.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable.
But see, that's where I stand with things. That's where I was with the Al Franken thing. I thought he should have just walked up and said, you know what? I'm going to be a senator until the day I'm voted out, and I don't give a hell what you've got on me. When Donald Trump resigns, 15 minutes later, I'll be gone. And until that fucking point, you can all kiss my fucking ass.
That's what the Democrats should have done.
There was part of me that was really pissed at Al Franken when he quit.
Right.
Because he should have just fuck all of y'all. That was a gag picture, and if you want to hold some hearings, I'll be happy to talk in front of them. But I ain't giving up being a senator until the people of the state of Minnesota say I no longer should be a senator. Okay, right. And but he quit. You know, and I think part of him was saying, because he had done other stuff in his life. You know, he'd been on TV, he'd been a comedian, he's been a movie writer, he wrote books, he did all kinds of stuff. And I think he just looked at this and went, I don't need this shit.
Right.
You know, I mean, I like being a public servant, and I like helping to try and change the dialogue, but come on. You know, I don't need this shit. And Kirsten Gillibrand, that cunt, right, should never be elected to anything, let alone the presidency of the United States, for what she did to Al Franken. She ate one of our own. She ate the best. Oh, isn't she hot? One of the best, and especially in white. When you see strong, what did it say there? When you look at her. Ah, boy. Am I being sexist by saying she's hot? And you know why she's hot? She's hot for two reasons. She's good looking. She's got a nice frame on her. But more than that, she's no nonsense and she's smart.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives me a boner every time. You know? Am I right, Bree? She's...
Oh, you're right, Alex. I can't get enough of AOC. I mean, whatever she wants to do, I'm all for it.
Do you realize?
Sign me up.
Do you realize how much of an impact this woman has made in just the short time, less than a month, that she's been in the United States Congress?
Unbelievable. And it's because it was all there. That message was there, but there was no sender, to deliver it.
There was no.
The message was there. Now they've got the sender.
There was nobody there coalescing the message.
Yeah.
And for all the Republicans, and for all the Republicans that voted for Donald Trump that wanted that something different type of politician, that is what they wanted. They wanted someone who was different, who actually had some sense, not someone who was different, who was just a buffoon. And I say that noting that, I don't even agree with everything that she wants, okay? But that doesn't mean because I disagree with someone on one thing or two things, I can't support them overall and their message. I mean, I'm not, on her bandwagon, so to speak. Oh, she's just so, I'm not worshiping her or anything. I mean, that is a fine-looking woman, I will say that. But I mean, it's just, but this is what they wanted, in my opinion, was something more along. I mean, I just can't believe they couldn't have found someone within their own party that was that type of, attitude and coming into town and, overturn the tables and burn the house down, but also, was smart.
Thank God Phil isn't here tonight because he'd tell us how much he hates her,
But I think a lot of the reasons that they hate her is because of that.
Oh, they hate her because...
But here's the thing. Think about 10 years ago, Howard Schultz would have had all the time he wanted to talk about everything he wanted. But now, social media, YouTube, all this and that, AOC and Twitter, AOC can immediately tweet, and essentially he can't run. I mean,
I'm paraphrasing Bill Maher, but he said, something, we didn't know much about Howard Schultz or hear much about Howard Schultz, but now that we've heard from Howard Schultz, we definitely know he's an asshole.
He's backed away. I haven't heard his name mentioned in about a week.
Because everybody's been putting him down. To begin with, you know, he likes to say, you know, and I found this market and I took it over and I turned it into Starbucks and I made it a success. He doesn't talk about his partner who started it with him. And that guy quit after a while because he couldn't stand being around Schultz, so he went and started Pete's.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't like he did it all by himself, but that's the way he remembers it, you know. So we need him in office like we've already got one of those kind of guys in office. Yeah. And I don't care if he's a liberal or not, you know. He was a liberal up to a point. He gave his people $11 an hour as a wage, and when they wanted to raise it to 15 in the state of Washington, he fought it.
If he wants to be president so bad, then start and get into Congress first.
Yeah,
work your way up. If you really want to be president, then show you want to be president. And
I don't think you have to work your way up. AOC was told that, but I do think that if he's smart enough, he would have gone for the Democrat nomination or the Republican.
Well,
he can't win as an independent.
AOC is working her way up. I mean, she's starting as a congressman. That's kind of the entry point in politics.
Yeah.
Yes, there are local politics you can involve yourself in.
Yeah. But he couldn't start. He couldn't get the nomination for Democrat or Republican. So this was his only way, because he's not that well known and he has no experience, and he's not Donald Trump is a television host. He's famous. That's how he got as far as he did. This other guy doesn't have the cachet to do that. So if he wants to do it and he really wants to be president, then he needs to get into office somewhere and serve this country first and work his way to president.
Trump didn't.
Trump didn't, because Trump was a reality TV host. He sat in a boardroom, looked really powerful, had all scripted, and everything looked great.
So Howard Schultz.
Well, you know, we're sitting around here as a bunch of smart people, and we'd like to think the rest of the country is smart. But really, if you look at the great breadth and width of America, most of them are stupid. Otherwise, this guy
needs a TV show.
Otherwise, this guy wouldn't be president of the United States at this point. You know?
Absolutely.
And it was stupidity that made him president. So what the hell, you know? Now, let me start running the theme here. Rob, you know you have a job now to do a new imager, so that we can
the pressing going in the studio. I don't know what works and what doesn't.
Well, all you got to do is find something that turns. All you got to do is plug a microphone into something and talk into it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so it's not a big deal.
This is the Alex Bennett Ramble.
Yeah.
On GABNet.
Because there's nothing like your voice for GABNet. It's Charlie Wallace. Thank you so much for joining us. Jeff Stein, you as well. Bree from Dubai. Thank you very much. It's like you're next door. It's amazing. Rob Alfano, thank you so much. And, of course, Josh. Oh, it's a pleasure. It's so much fun that we've been having you on lately. Really, really enjoy it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And why don't you all guys, all you guys, wave goodbye to the audience out there, okay? There they go. And here's me waving back. Okay. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote. It's simple. It's and I'm getting the lines all ready for Jack Bishop, who is next. Excuse me. Wait a minute. I thought I'm screwing up like crazy, folks. Anyway, that's all she wrote for tonight. Oh God, I keep forgetting to push buttons, and maybe it's time for me to pack it in. Well, at least for tonight. Stay tuned for Jack Bishop. He's next tomorrow night, 9:30. It's Damian Chaplin in the Exchange. 10 o'clock. I'll be back here. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I'm losing my fucking mind and tell her I love her, okay?